What's going on, everybody? This is Bob's Three-Toed Warriors. We're talking undervalued quarterbacks, and the show is going to start right now. What's going on, everybody? It's Bob's Three-Toed Warriors, Studio 1329 with the Word on the Streets, Season 1, Episode 24. Today's show, we're starting the Undervalued series. When I say undervalued, I'm talking about players that you're going to go and find in your draft that are undervalued and you can get a little steal on. So we're going to start this one with quarterbacks. And it's one of those positions that's just so left behind in fantasy football, especially in one quarterback leagues. In super flex leagues, it's a different story. But in your one quarterback leagues, it's an undervalued position in fantasy football. But today I have Elvin Ryan joining me on the show to help talk about how you can exploit that value in your drafts so you can win more championships. Elvin, what's a good word, sir?
Let's do it, man. I'm excited.
There we go. All right. Elvin, tell everybody where they can find you, sir, in case they are listening, can't see it on the screen here.
So you can find me on Twitter at ElvinRyan_FF for fantasy football. You can also find me at thepregamehq.com.
Nice. All right. So we're going to talk a little more about that pregamehq.com. What is that, sir?
No, I mean, that's just a fantasy website. I built it myself from the ground up. I've launched it and then pulled it back like multiple times. Right now it's actually in a hold position, but within the next couple of days, it'll be back live.
Okay.
Perfectionist, man. It's been hard.
Yeah, I was going to say it must be a perfectionist thing. You know what? Don't worry about this. Put it out there. The people will grow with you. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man.
For sure.
So what kind of stuff you guys going to cover on there?
No, I mean, I have rankings for redraft. We have dynasty rankings. A lot of articles, not all fantasy football related, but everything's football related from high school to college, Canadian, NFL, no matter what. If it's football, it's on there. So,
all right. High school, college, Canadian. What's up, Warren? Let's play some Canadian football. All right. That'll work. All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're listening to the podcast, I'd love you to subscribe. 5-star rating would be so appreciated. And then we have the Fantasy Football Hump Day Happy Hours on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. For me, that's in 2 days. For y'all, I don't know what it is. It depends on when I air the show, but enjoy it. It's a good time. And some pretty great guests on there that come on, and we just pick a subject and we just talk on it. And you guys get to throw in your questions, throw in your feedback, poke jabs at the guests. Not me, just the guests. All right, you can poke them at me too if you need to, but so far it's just been at the guests. So it's probably some of their buddies. So good times, but feel free to play. All right, so let's get into this undervalued quarterbacks, and we're going to start by this question here, and I don't want you to use a player's name in the example, but without using a player's name, how would you define an undervalued quarterback, Elvin?
I mean, someone with a ADP bargain that has upside. I mean, whether he's surrounded by weapons, whether he's had historically great years in the past, and maybe has lacked those in recent years. You feel like he's set for a bounce back. Someone that people sleep on due to their age, whether it being too old, too young. Really, I mean, as long as you're ADP and ECR shopping, you can kind of find out who those bargains are going to be. It's all about going with your gut.
Sure. And then I would add to that, not only going with your gut, but also that value is also going to be altered in each draft you do with each set of league mates. And even in each year you draft with those same damn league mates that go high quarterback, fast quarterback, sucking all the quarterbacks off the board. And then the next year they're just taking one in the last round. So you kind of got to play it with, got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
But these are guys you can still steal and have great value. So, all right. So your first guy on this list, and this is in no particular order, at least mine was in no particular order. I assume yours wasn't. But we got Mr. Joe Burrow, which he pulls up as quarterback 18. That means that if we go in order, we're going to assume that people draft in order of fantasy pros that I pulled up here. But he goes as quarterback 18, which means that everybody has their quarterback and half of the people have a second one. That's quarterback. That's pick number 161. That's the middle of the 14th round. You're pretty good there. That's with your defense and your kickers usually by that time, if your league still has those. So talk to me about Mr. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it bias. I live down here in the Bayou. I'm a huge LSU fan, season ticket holder for the Saints and LSU. So I love Joe. I got to see him in person every game. I went to the national championship. I went to Atlanta to see him in the college football playoffs. Like, I just love Joe's game. I'm higher on him. I think he's a quarterback year one. He's got all the weapons around him. I mean, he's got AJ Green. He's got Boyd, Auden Tate, who is poised for a breakout. He's another one. If we ever cover receivers, that guy is a sleeper beyond sleepers. Joe Mixon, he's the hype train of the offseason for sure. But the guy is surrounded by elite talents. He's got weapons. I know what he's capable of whenever he's given those weapons. Like at LSU, I said, with Clyde Edwards, he had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss. Like, he had weapons, and now he's moving into a situation where he also has weapons. The cool thing in fantasy is he doesn't have to win games to put up points. The Bengals defense, I believe, will still be bad. I think that Joe's going to be forced to air it out a lot. And even whenever he's not airing it out, but he'll be checking it down to Joe a lot. So I like him in the 14th round. I think that he can honestly be a QB1. I have him as my QB14, 4 spots ahead of his ADP and 6 spots ahead of the ECR. What do you think about Joe, man?
No, I like that. I'm not looking to pick any fights here. I'm definitely not looking to pick on your hometown favorite. Now we know why he was on the top of your list. That's awesome.
He does. I mean, he has a really easy schedule too. Like, of the rookie quarterbacks, he has one of the easiest schedules. Not saying that the other rookies are going to come out and start like we know that Joe Burrow is, but
sure,
he's got a fairly easy schedule.
He does, and you said he's surrounded with weapons. He is surrounded with weapons, and he even has a weapon coming back that didn't even play last year. So it could be very, very pretty. They always say that those rookie quarterbacks go off to a slow start, especially if you're not running for 1 million yards, which makes can make it a little bit tougher. A little growing pains into the NFL. They say they come faster and harder at you, hit you harder, hit you faster, but he's got a good cast around him, and he's got a little talent in himself. So, and he gets to start right away. So that's a nice. If you waited and you're just taking the shot, it's not bad. And speaking of waiting and taking a shot, Matt Stafford makes my list as quarterback number 13 off the board. So everybody took their quarterback and then an extra one, and that's number 108. That's the end of the 9th round. So you've got your full lineup by then. You're happy. You got some guys on the bench. And then there's Matt Stafford just sitting there waiting for you. Okay, he had injuries. He had back issues. But if he's fully recovered, he's got his full cast pretty much there. He's ready to go. He was on pace to be a QB1 in a big way last year before the injury. And if he comes back that same way, it's going to be pretty deadly. Where'd he go? Matt Stafford, 2,500 yards and just a little bit of playing time. He had half a season. That's on pace for 5,000 yards. That's not too shabby. On pace
he was on fire prior to that injury.
Yeah, almost 40 touchdowns he was on pace for, and only 10 interceptions. That's Winston touchdowns without the Winston interceptions. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I would put him up there in a pretty high ranking. All right, I won't throw any shots at Winston. Yeah, I probably will again. Any thoughts on Matt Stafford for you?
I have him ahead of Burrow. I don't feel like he's as much of someone sleeping on. Like, we all know what Matt Stafford's capable of. I mean, he's one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL who have thrown for 5,000 yards in a season. I have him right there at his ADP, ahead of his ADP, kind of on par with where everyone else has him. But I definitely agree with you. I mean, if he's there even 12th, 13th round, he is a steal.
Sure. Oh, yeah. To me, it wasn't that people are sleeping on. I don't think that they necessarily are. But when you can get that kind of talent after you've already filled out your whole lineup with stud running backs, wide receivers, even maybe a good tight end if if you took one, or maybe you're just waiting until even later in the draft to take one, that's just a great value. And if you're wrong, if in a one quarterback league, screw it, just go grab somebody else. So it's worth the shot. Let's go to Mr. Cam. He play Newton. Did you get the pun there? Cam he play? That was crickets.
Wow.
Cam Newton.
You kind of cut out for a second. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So real quick, Cam Newton.
I really, really like Cam. I hated him whenever he was in the NFC South. I had to watch this guy shred the Saints whenever we had the worst defense in the NFL for back-to-back years, and he was on his MVP type campaigns. He destroyed us, but I'm very intrigued to see what Bill Belichick does with someone like him. I mean, you remember the small sample size that we got with Jacoby Brissett, and that's kind of the most athletic quarterback that Bill had ever worked with. And now he's getting Cam Newton, a former MVP and just an incredible athlete. I'm super high on him. I think he's a fringe QB1. I don't want to go on record saying that Cam will be a QB1, but I definitely think he's a lock for QB2, and he could definitely be on the fringe of that QB1 status. Where you got Cam, man?
So real quick, Fantasy Pros has him at quarterback 23. So that's almost the end of everybody's second quarterback. That's pretty damn deep. Is 189. That's a late 16th round, and they have a week 6 bye. I'll mention why I said that in a second. So I could definitely see Cam having a great year. I'm going to assume that the foots, it's plural, the foots are good. I'm going to assume that the shoulder is good and that he is ready to go and he's healthy. The question will be, is he the guy from week 1? We think he is. But the reason I put in the week 6 bye, what if they do start Stidham week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get Cam time to get adjusted? Or are they just going all in on Cam? I feel like they got to go all in.
They're going all in on Cam.
All right.
I mean, you have a 6'5", 245-pound guy who can fly, and Bill Belichick has something to prove because a lot of people are like, Brady carried him, and they're kind of pissing down Bill's back, like writing this guy off, like flashing back to his days in Cleveland where he was unsuccessful. I think Bill has something to prove, and I don't think he even takes the chance with Stidham.
All right. What about this? What about if they start Cam and they are 1-4 on week 6? Do they pull Cam and put in Stidham?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I mean, Bill's in it to win. Me personally, I think that Cam gives them the best chance to win. But if they're 1-4 going into the bye, Bill wants to win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Cam can do a damn good job as long as he's healthy, and they're going to make the system, I'm sure, work around him. He'll get to chuck the ball out there a little. I'm not sure who he's going to chuck it to. N'Keal Harry, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, that's the most weapon. But I saw a stat, man, and it's not promising for N'Keal Harry. Like, based on, I think, wide receivers who drafted in the first round, who come out and catch less than 30 balls the following year. And this sample size went all the way back to 2000, I believe. I heard the fantasy footballers talking about it, and their second year is no better. It's around 35 balls as well. So N'Keal Harry scares me. And I feel bad for a lot of people who invested draft capital in that guy last year.
Yeah, they went early. They went in the top 5, if not even earlier. So, all right. So next up, we have Gardner Minshew. So he is quarterback 28. Everybody's got 2 quarterbacks now at this point. So we're talking people are grabbing him in super flex leagues. They're probably not grabbing him in your regular 1 quarterback league unless they feel good about him. He's he's pit player 191. That's late 16th round. In most of your Yahoo type leagues, things like that, 16th round is all there are. So they're saying, I'm going to grab this guy with my last pick and take a shot on him. That's Gardner Minshew. The man can run. We like running quarterbacks, right? That's why one of the things we love about Cam Newton. The man can run and get some yards on the ground with his feet. If you saw his little training video, he can throw at least 10 yards. So that's good. Let's see him chucking any deep bombs in there. Gardner Minshew, how did he do last year? I need to find an easier way to sort this bad boy. Gardner Minshew, 3,200 yards and change. 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So it's a nice little ratio for him. And that was in 12 games. It's not a bad pace for a young guy just starting out. So he develops a little bit more, finds his targets a little bit more, keeps those yard grounds up. I can see him having a decent year. What are you thinking? Bury him in the garden or let that garden grow?
Yeah, no, I like Gardner a lot. I actually last year I shaved my mustache. My wife absolutely hated it, but I rocked the mustache for a while. I mean, they do have a really tough schedule. I don't like his schedule versus quarterbacks, but Jacksonville is going to play from behind a lot. And unless they're like, you know what, Leonard Fournette, screw you. This year, last year with us, we're going to ride the wheels off you. And they give him 300 carries. I think Minshew's going to be playing from behind a lot, and he's going to get the chance to air it out a lot. And then they have a piss-poor offensive line, which is why he was able to scramble so much last year. He was running for his life. But he was right there with Kyler Murray if you stretch him out over a 16-game span. So a lot of people don't realize his rushing ability, but it was up there.
Yeah, sneaky, right?
Yeah, I know. I like him for a streamer, a flyer, your QB2. Definitely, like you said, I'm not taking him in a QB1 league.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing, too, is if he is going to start dumping the ball off, Chris Thompson can be electric in the backfield for the few weeks he's healthy. He can get you some yards. Yeah,
no, Chris Thompson is one of my sleepers. They had that little buy, sell, bust sleeper going around Twitter yesterday, and I put him as he's really the deepest sleeper, but I know his potential from the 2017-18 seasons where he was catching 60 balls, and it was good times for him in Washington, but also know the Chris Thompson that a lot of new fantasy owners know, and that's a very injury-prone back who probably won't see the field often. And it really depends which one we're going to see. But,
sure.
Yeah, if we're able to see the one of the past, the latter, I think Gardner's going to benefit a lot from checking it down to that guy.
Yeah. No doubt. So tell me more about some of the projects you're working on. I know you said you've been made the guest rounds, been hopping around for some different shows around the Twitter people and the podcast world. So what are some of the projects you're kind of touching on, working on at this point?
Mainly just, the pregame. I've been really crunching to get this website perfected, and I keep releasing and pulling it back, like I was telling you. But other than that, I've been a guest on a podcast, on quite a few podcasts. I've been doing one weekly with Anthony Servino's guy, Mikey. But other than that, I like giving audiences something to follow on Twitter. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'll do my analysis through there and let it travel through the Twitter sphere. But I don't have my own podcast or anything like that yet. But
you did just say you've been a weekly guest. You're kind of sneaking your way into your own podcast.
Right, so, I don't have an Elvin Ryan show yet, but
that's all good, man. That's all good. Well, hey, you never know. A few more weeks on that show, he might be like, well, you're here enough.
You're here, yeah.
So, it's like when you get unofficially adopted by your friend's parents because you're always over there, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's move on to your next guy. He is the 10th quarterback, so we're into the first round. No, first round's not the right word, but the top 12 quarterbacks is what I'm looking for. The 76th pick off the board. That's an early 7th pick. So now we have to decide, do I grab that extra wide receiver, that running back, or do I take a shot on quarterback here? That's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, he's going as the QB10. Fantasy Pros, the ECR doesn't like him much, and I think that's slowly rubbing off on drafters as we get into redraft season, and a lot of these guys are just going and they're printing out draft like cheat sheets and whatnot, and they're really not drafting from much knowledge. I think you'll see that ADP number shift towards the ECR number. With Aaron, I mean, like I said on Mike, the podcast I do with Mikey and those guys, they were saying like they would rather have Kirk Cousins than Aaron Rodgers. They actually had Aaron Rodgers as their third quarterback just in the NFC North. So I think that the expert analysis from the ECR is starting to rub off on your casual.
Sure.
I think that QB10 will be somewhere around QB15 by the first week of September when majority of redrafts drafts are taking place. But I really like Aaron. I know what he's capable of, and I think they just poured like salt on the wound, and this guy's going to come out like pissed off. Like
that's right.
This
proven points, right?
Past,
proven points. Yeah, last season he had just over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So a beautiful ratio there in his 16 games. Definitely have some room to go up. He's got to lean on those secondary targets. I mean, I have Devontae in some dynasty leagues, so make sure you still give love to Devontae. But he's got to start, leaning on. He's got to find his guy. He's got to find his second guy. He's got to find his tight end and just start connecting with him. And I think that's where he's missing. He's not, I don't know, not comfortable with him, not trusting him. I don't know what it is, but he's got to get out of his own head and start chucking him the ball.
I think last season with Devontae Adams missing some times with that injury, that he built a little trust with Lazard. I like Lazard as a sleeper. A lot of people are like, oh, how many times are we going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, wide receiver 2? It just doesn't happen, right? But a lot of stereotypes get proven wrong each and every year. What I like most, something that I look at heavily whenever I'm analyzing quarterbacks, is the strength of schedule. And I've mentioned it for all of them. Aaron Rodgers has the third easiest strength of schedule based off from 2019's defenses against quarterbacks. The fact that people think that he's taken a major step back in the past few seasons, man, I love that the ECR is downplaying this and that the casuals are going to slowly move that ADP back. And he's a guaranteed QB1 in my eyes that you're getting for a steal.
All right. Yeah, and you know who his wide receiver 2 was, I think, was it 3 years ago? It's Devontae Adams, and he had like 15 touchdowns or something. So people hate on his second wide receiver. He can do the job.
I brought that setup before. That's whenever Jordy and Randall were there. And Devontae Adams was his wide receiver 3. He's not as blessed anymore. He doesn't have those kind of weapons. But Allen Lazard is a big target and a great target, in my opinion.
There you go. All right. I'm putting this one in here reluctantly. I put him in here intentionally, and then I have changed my mind since putting him in the notes. I don't even know if I can find him. So Mr. I'm laughing as I'm saying it. Okay, I have Ryan Fitzpatrick in here. Let me explain myself. Ryan Fitzpatrick is quarterback 32 on the board. There are 32 teams in the NFL, just to correlate numbers. That is 239th pick. That is the late 24th pick, 24th round. I don't know if you're in a league that drafts 24 rounds, but I'm not, unless it's a dynasty or a super freakishly crazy deep league. And in that league, you probably need 3 quarterbacks or something anyway. So they do have a week 11 bye. Tua's been, since putting this note in here, Tua's, saying that he's healthy and ready to go, et cetera, et cetera. Do they start Tua right away? Do they wait? I think that most people in redraft are going to know before they make this selection. And if you don't know, don't make this pick. But if you do know, and Ryan is starting, that's a steal. If you again waited and you want to take a guy who loves to chuck the ball, loves to go balls out, that's Ryan Fitzpatrick for you. He's going to throw it deep to every guy. He's going to try to get every touchdown under the sun. Last year in his 13 games, which was a 5-8 record, it was not good. He had 3,500 yards, not a bad pace, 20 touchdowns, 13 picks. So hopefully you're not in a league that destroys you over picks. But if you're taking that late guy shot, which I love doing, it's not a bad guy to do it with. Now, week 11, could that be the week they switch out Tua? No, they'd probably do it way sooner because Fitzpatrick will probably be losing. If by week 11 they're rocking it, they could sit Tua the whole time. I don't know, and let him just continue to heal. But then again, they spent that first-round pick on it. It's one of those guys I put in there. I'm like, it is such a sale. But when I open it up, is it going to be rotten meat or is it going to be good? I just said I'm opening up Ryan Fitzpatrick and finding rotten meat. What the hell is wrong with me?
No, I mean, you can keep the raw meat. I want nothing to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick or Tua this season. I do have more faith in Tua taking over. I think Tua plays more games. I think even though it's scary because the offensive line, even though it's improved, it's still bad. We all know about Tua's. I mean, he's kind of a brittle guy, and they have the hardest schedule against defenses of last year. But I just hate Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan, the roller coaster. That guy has
hate him.
He's fooled me too many times. I mean, you think about his year with the Jets where he just balled out, and then he fooled the Jets too. They gave him all that money, and then the next season he comes out and he lays an egg. He sucks ass. So then he goes to Tampa Bay, and week 1, he's beating the Saints 48-42 in the Dome, just going crazy. Comes post-game interview dressed like the meme that we've all come to know Ryan Fitzpatrick for. Yeah, we love it. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson's clothes.
Sure. So there's a real reason you hate him.
Then he loses his starting job back to Jameis Winston, and then he's got it back from Jameis. Then he loses it again. Then he goes to Miami and he balls out. He does have a great season over the course of those 13 games. Like you said, 3,500 yards. That's nothing to shake a stick at. He balls out. So what's he going to do now? Well, he's going to lay an egg. He's going to suck, and Tua's going to end up being the quarterback. And I don't know how Tua's going to do, honestly, but I'm staying away from both of them, even in 2 QB leagues.
Sure. No, I can totally get with that. It's one of those it's like a food that's bad for you, but you still Vienna sausages. That's what it is. You ever have a Vienna sausage?
Oh yeah.
You know when you walk by that shelf and you see that, you're like, man, I ain't had that in 5-10 years. But you know there's a reason why you haven't had it in 5-10 years. It's because it's nasty. But you buy it, you open it, and you're like, oh, it's so good. You have the first 2, you're like, oh, this is a nasty little hot dog.
No, awful. But, you made the stat that you were talking about Winston, but in the final 11 weeks, Fitzpatrick was only second in passing yards to Jameis Winston. Dude, this roller coaster.
So the potential's there. The potential's there. That's my point.
Oh, it's there.
If you're streaming, here's why I put him on here. If you are streaming and your league didn't all take 2 and 3 quarterbacks, like mental cases, if you're streaming and there's plenty of quarterbacks on the bench and you just want to take a shot at a guy, assuming you know he's starting, that can win you weeks for free. This dude can win you weeks for free. That's why I put him on here. But he could totally be out of a job midway through the second quarter, second game, second week. Who knows? So.
Yeah, no, I do own him actually in an auction league so I've done quite a few auction leagues over time, but it was my first auction super flex and like premiums, and sure. I botched the hell out of this. This is the worst draft I've ever had. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is one of my quarterbacks. I have both him and Tua, and I hate it. That league I expect myself to finish in the bottom 2. That's how bad it is.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks to hear. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about your next guy, who is quarterback 12 off the list, 92nd player off the board overall. That's the middle of the 8th round. That's Mr. Carson Wentz. Is he going to fly high this year like an eagle?
I think so. I think he's I like what they did in the draft. And I mean, I've always liked his connection with Ertz. I like Goddard, Deshaun Jackson, regardless of his Instagram post. I think he'll have a big year. But I like what they did in the draft, taking a receiver in the first round and actually getting this guy some targets. I mean, he went from throwing to guys like Alshon Jeffrey as a leading receiver and still throwing. What's that stat where he's the first quarterback ever to throw for 1,000 yards and have no receiver go over 500 yards? That's incredible.
It's a brutal stat. That's what it is. Yeah, he had 4,000 yards last year, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in his 16 games. Yeah, and that was with no receivers, as you mentioned.
None. Yeah. So, and I mean his schedule it bears sort of easy, but we all know from that MVP campaign that he was having the year that he probably should have won the MVP. Whenever they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, he tore his ACL diving into the end zone. We all know that he has the ability to be a top tier QB1 in fantasy. So the upside is there for where he's being drafted. Sure, why wouldn't you take that shot?
Yeah, I can definitely buy that. All right, time for me to get a little homerism in me. For those watching on the YouTubes, yep, I'm swiping the hat. For those not, yep, I'm swiping the hat. That's the Broncos hat there. So I'm going with Mr. Drew Lock, quarterback 24, pick 153. That's late in the 13th round. That means you waited, or that means you're grabbing him as your QB2, and you still waited for QB2. So where is Drew Lock? I got to go down. Here he is, Drew Lock. He racked up a massive 1,000 yards in his 5 games. That's an average of 200 yards. And it ain't beautiful. He had 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's okay. It's not great. So it's that's what it is. It's so. But you talk about a quarterback sitting around with targets all around him. He's got 3 great receivers. 2 are rookies, but 3 great receivers. He's got 3 great running backs. They went out and got him another running back. They're like, here's another running back. He can catch the ball. He can run. You already have 2 good ones. Let's just give you another one. He's got a great athletic wide receiver, or tight ends. He's got his tight end that he went to college with, so that might screw Noah Fant over, but we'll see. He doesn't have an offensive line. They kind of worked on it. I hope they worked on it better than I feel like they worked on it, but hopefully that line is better than I anticipate, and they can hold everybody back for him. But the guy has some upside for being that deep in the draft, and that's why I threw him on the list. Those people like to go late. There's a shot for you. It doesn't feel good. I can't take him. I'll be called a homer all day long. I almost never take a Bronco. But it's like, he's free. Come on. What's the thoughts on Drew Lock? Is he a lock for you, or is it just a broken lock?
Nothing worth anything is ever free, and Drew Lock's free. So
you almost made me spill my unofficial sponsor, Mr. Vanilla Crown. There, thanks.
Yes, he is a host of my most popular tweet ever. Okay. I mentioned his arsenal for the 2020 season. So you got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman, Noah Fant, and everyone wants to talk about Alberto. I don't think he plays much of a part this season. Sure. But like you mentioned, he still has a piss poor offensive line. I like the Broncos. My dad's a big fan of the Broncos. Personally, though, I think this was John Elway setting this team up for a Peyton Manning-like situation, right? So you remember Tim Tebow won this guy a playoff game against the Steelers, and the next year he was, you're done. Peyton Manning's in here, right? So he surrounded him to where he can be like, all right, Drew Lock, if you don't succeed, it's nothing but your fault. And sure. I think in a way, John Elway doesn't want anyone to succeed there. I mean, we have –
he's preserving his own legacy?
Yeah, because of his own personal legacy. He wants to be that guy. He really does. Like he wants to be that guy. And I think Peyton Manning came in one year, but he was carried. I think he has the least amount of completions ever in a Super Bowl game. The only person behind him, though, is John Elway, like second to John Elway or whatnot. But I think it's a legacy issue for John Elway. And he wants to be able to plug in an old quarterback. So let's say Aaron Rodgers next year has a falling out with Green Bay over the young quarterback Love that they just drafted. This is a plug-and-play situation. You plug Aaron Rodgers into a situation where Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are your receivers. He's going to succeed, and Elway gets what he wants for a short amount of time.
Well, why don't you just go and get him already? He's a quarterback whisperer. He can't whisper, can't scream. He's like silent in voice. Like he's not good at picking quarterbacks. I mean, he's just not. Like, yeah, you found Manning. You found one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and you put him on your team. Fantastic. That's like saying, oh, I found Aaron Rodgers because he's disgruntled, and I brought him over. You didn't find him. Everybody knew where he was.
I mean, I like Tim Tebow there, but
Tim Tebow was fun. Okay, so we'll go a little Broncos talk here. Yeah, sure. Tim Tebow was fun. After a game or two, watching him roll out to the left and then either throw the ball or run the ball or tip it up, you pretty much knew what he was doing. That was his issue. It got a little stale too quick for Tim Tebow, I believe. He was fun to watch though.
I never got tired of it. I love that guy's passion, man.
Yeah. So it was good. He definitely had some passion for the game. And everybody was Tebowing. So
yeah.
All right. Let's go to before we go on to our next four players. Give everybody your Twitter handle again for those listening on the podcast who can't see it.
Yeah, if you're not following, go ahead and do it now. It's Elvin Ryan, ELVN Ryan _FF for fantasy football.
I love that. That was a direct order. He said, if you're not following, go do it right now. I dig it.
Go do it now.
Exactly. Okay. So we're going to go over to your guy, and this might be the one of the earliest picks. Matt Ryan, quarterback 86 off the board overall, middle of the ninth round. So that's a pretty early. That it's not the middle of the ninth round. Sometimes middle of the eighth round, I think. 7 times 12 is 84. Yeah, it's middle of the eighth round. I can't do math there, or I couldn't type one of the two. So middle of the eighth round. So you're investing a little earlier, but I'm not going to disagree with you one bit. I went to put him on the show sheet here, and you already had him in. So I was like, damn it. So talk to us about Mr. Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. So yeah, he's being drafted right now as the QB8. I think he finishes higher than that, personally. But most of it is the fact that Atlanta still has a bad defense. They're playing in a division where they're playing.
That's a brutal division.
They're playing the Bucs and the Saints twice. Those guys are going to air it out. I mean, they're going to have to put up points to win those games. And in years, so Matt Ryan has dealt with changing offensive coordinators many a times in his career. And I'm sure this isn't the first time or the last time you'll hear this stat. But his first year with the offensive coordinator, he tends to struggle. He's a QB2. And then the following season, he's been in the top 3 quarterbacks. So, I mean, he's got an MVP season just 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. His second year with an offensive coordinator. So, second year with an offensive coordinator. He's got a younger, more athletic tight end in Hayden Hurst. Does Hayden Hurst put up those Hooper numbers? I'm not sure. But is he more of a threat? Like, is he more He's faster. He's bigger. Yeah, so
he's got a good running back to throw to too. Guy can catch. Todd Gurley.
Hey, I love Todd Gurley, man. My bold prediction of 2020 is Todd Gurley will outscore all rookie running backs, and I'm sticking to that.
That could be. Is that bold? Is that bold? That man. It was a good spot, and he's starting.
Whenever I first said it, it was draft week. And I think
draft week when they were all supposed to be flying on the field. Yeah, I got you. All right, I like it. No, I can see
less bold due to COVID, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that definitely slowed him down a little. Yeah, Matt Ryan has 4,400, almost 4,500 yards last season. It's fantastic. 26 TDs, 14 interceptions. So a little lower on the TD scale for him, a little probably higher on the interception scale. He doesn't have to go and gel with new players. He doesn't, other than his tight end and his running back, whatever. They play short. It'll be fine. But his main wide receivers are still in place for him. Like you said, second year in the system with his coach. I definitely agree with you and see the opportunity there of him having a fantastic year. And again, let the other guys grab the guys off the top of the board that have to produce to make it back to what you paid for him. He doesn't have to super ball out to get back what you paid for him. Like if you take Lamar Jackson early, you take Mahomes early, and you give up those stud running back wide receivers. So that is it's a steal. Is basically what I was getting at there. It's a steal. So, all right. Let's move over to Mr. Jared Goff. He is quarterback 19 off the board. So we just dropped a whole 12 quarterbacks almost there to the 126th, middle of the 11th round. Jared Goff had 1,000,000 yards, 4,600 yards. Yep, there it is. Okay, yeah, 4,638. Here's where I see his opportunity. It's not going to be in the yards. I mean, yeah, you can get more yards, but he's kind of topped out there or around that topped out area, right? 22 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. That ratio is horrible. There's a lot of room there for the TDs to go up and the interceptions to go down. He's got his guys all on the field other than Brandon Cooks, but then they've discovered Higbee, which they had to use different players last year with the concussions and everything anyway. So I think the opportunity for Goff that late in 19th, quarterbacks are just so disrespected. It's just really what it is. There should be no one quarterback leagues is what I feel like. That's the problem, I think, for me. How you feeling, Goff? Is this something to Goff at?
And I feel bad because I didn't like Fitzpatrick either, but
that's okay. That's part of the fun here. Fitzpatrick was definitely shaky. Fitzpatrick was shaky.
Yeah. I'm not big on Goff. I mean, he doesn't have the easiest schedule, and he has a horrendous offensive line. I mean, they're bad in pass protection. He doesn't release the ball fast enough, in my opinion. He's never really lived up to expectations. And then late last season, whenever they shifted to 12 personnel, implementing the 2 tight ends on the field, it kind of showed me McVay plans to run the ball, be kind of the 49ers of their they're going to be the 49ers of Los Angeles. And they have 3 backs. They have Henderson, Akers, and Brown. Just like San Francisco, they kind of had 3 just mediocre backs, but they tend to make it work. They run a 12 personnel as well, run heavy, 2 tight end. That leads to shorter passes, not airing it out. Losing Brandon Cooks takes away a little bit of that deep play. I'm high on Robert Woods still. I think Robert Woods will still be a wide receiver 1, but I'm out on Goff.
All right, so as much as they run the 12 personnel in the running game, the man still had the 3rd most passing yards in the league. I don't care how short those passes are. He's getting the yards.
Yeah, they didn't shift to 12 personnel until the final 5 weeks of the season. They started running 12 personnel over 6.
1/3. 1/3 of the season, though. It's a good chunk. It's a good chunk, right?
Well, I think his numbers show for it too.
Yeah.
Where it went down, and I mean a lot of that was Higbee's yards after the catch. Higbee was only the third tight end ever with 4 straight 100-yard games.
I love me some Higbee. So, and for as bad as that line was, and as long as he holds on to the ball, he was the 29th least sacked quarterback at 22 sacks.
Really?
Whereas the top 8 quarterbacks are almost double that at 48 to 48. So as bad as
I know Wilson and Watson are up there at 50. I could have sworn Goff was up there.
22. Unless SK means something else. Nope, time sacked.
What was that?
No, it's time sacked. But maybe it was rushed a ton, and that's why I threw so many damn interceptions. Yeah. So hey, that can still play in, right? You don't have to be sacked to get the ball messed up, to throw that bad interception. All right, let's move on to someone that you like better than Jared Goff. How about that? Let's move on to let me read this whole statement here before you add here. We're going to move on to Derek Carr. He's the 26th off the board. 26 off the board is the 200th player off the board. That's the middle of the 17th round. And again, most of you aren't drafting in the 17th round. So he's free. I'm not going to quote you earlier on things that are free, but he has a bye in the 6th week. And I'll unpackage that and hand it back to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, so Derek Carr is probably from where his current ADP is. He's my biggest jump. Like, he's someone where I would say, you know what, screw your ADP bargain. Like, I'm going to get this guy. Like, I saw a tweet not that long ago. Like, he's a poor man's Drew Brees, and it's so true. Like, he's accurate. He takes care of the ball. They're surrounding him with more weapons. I mean, they went from having almost no receivers to now having one of the deepest wide receiver rooms there is overnight.
Yeah.
No, man, I love Derek Carr. I really do.
I can hear it. 4,000 yards. I'm a Broncos fan, so I can tell you what I think about him. 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 8 picks. And so you are right. I feel like much like the Broncos scenario, the Raiders went out and did the same damn thing. They said, here's a bunch of weapons for you. Granted, the rookies, but here's a bunch of weapons for you.
Yeah.
You got a good running back.
I agree, but in the same sense, so the Broncos are waiting to bring in their guy to replace Drew Lock. The Raiders already went ahead and said, hey, this guy right here, Mariota, yeah, I know. That's your replacement. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, and that brings me back to the piece I added at the end. Their bye is in the 6th week as well, if I'm not correct, which means that there's a good 5 weeks of pressure on their – I don't know. I feel like a lot of teams like to make that switch during the bye. I feel like that's a good common place to make the switch. You got time to adjust if needed. Not that they want to make that switch, but they've got the milk sitting in the fridge. They're ready to pull it out if they need it. So,
and if it happens, I don't think it's going to be what Derek Carr does. I think the guy's a lock to complete 70% of his passes. I think it would be them not winning games just because they have such a tough schedule next year. And I think that Gruden would be pressed to say, like, hey, look, I'm doing my best. I want to win. You get what I'm saying? That's why Mariota's here and whatnot. Yeah. I don't think it'll be anything that Carr does. I think it would just be the team losing.
He gets to be a scapegoat.
Yeah, he would be Gruden's scapegoat.
Yeah, and you just said something that I wrote down earlier, and then I didn't come back to it. So you were talking about Matt Ryan's schedule, I think, and how tough their games are and him having to air it out. Pretty sure it's Matt Ryan. Pretty much anyone in that division has to air it out.
Doesn't have to face the toughest defenses, but he definitely is going to have to throw to stay in games.
Yeah, and then that division also plays the Chiefs this year, and the Broncos and Raiders allegedly have new weapons to air out the ball to, and the Broncos and Raiders, and that's where the Raiders thing came up, is with Derek Carr. He's going to be playing the Chiefs twice. He's going to be playing the Raiders that might air it out more. Who knows? And then he gets to make the round of the NFC evil division that the Saints are in.
Now the NFC South will be tough for him. Man, I hate his schedule for the fact that Gruden might have to pull him out as the scapegoat, but I love it for the fact that he's playing a lot of high scoring teams. The Saints, the Bucks, the Chiefs twice. He's playing a lot of good offenses. He's going to have to throw to stay in there. And the fact that he's so accurate whenever he's throwing, he's going to guarantee a lot of points.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. All right. And so we're going to go from a guy that you could have drafted in the middle of the 17th round, allegedly, based off of today's numbers, to a guy that you have to draft early in the 6th round. So this is a total coin flip. This is Deshaun Watson. He is quarterback six off the board. He is a 63rd player. That means the 5th round is done. We're 3 players into the 6th round in most leagues, and so that's some decision time, I like to call it. This is where I usually don't like to start grabbing quarterbacks. I feel a little icky. I start grabbing quarterbacks early, but Deshaun Watson. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. There are some changes in this man's life. He had 3,800 yards. 38-52 last year, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a 5.3 touchdown percentage, not too shabby. Where is his rushing yards? That's what I want to know. Is that on this sheet I'm looking at? I think he's going to have more rushing yards this year, and I think a lot of that is going to be due to Hopkins not hanging around so shallow. If you look at the wide receiver targets he has, I saw it on Twitter one time, and it cracked me up. The day that the Cooks got signed, it was the Madden play of like all 3 wide receivers just going deep, and then were they gonna just dump off the ball to David Johnson in the backfield the whole time? Sure, maybe to the tight end short, maybe, but they do have a lot of speed on that team, assuming everybody doesn't pull a hammy, get a concussion, everybody stays healthy, etc. And defenses have to respect that. So what's going to happen when they do pull defenses back? They're going to go back with them, especially in man coverage. And Deshaun Watson will be like, well, I see 12 yards. I'm running. There's some more fantasy points. Thank you for the fantasy glory. So I don't even think he has to totally make up for the trade and losing his top receiver with Hopkins leaving. I think he can make that up on his feet alone this year, and he might even have to. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against Deshaun Watson. He's not someone where I'm like, oh, I hate it. I don't really see the value in taking him that early, especially like you said, he lost Hopkins. He has a very tough schedule, and he has 3 of the most injury-prone receivers there are in the game. They're all deep threats, and they're all injury-prone. Really, if you want to throw in 4 receivers, if you add Kiki Kuti, he's also an injury-prone guy. So
most guys on the team.
Yeah, so he has 4 very, very injury-prone receivers. David Johnson, who's dealt with adversity the last few years, a hard schedule. The only thing that saves him, which is the reason I don't hate him, is, like you said, his rushing floor. Like, he's going to produce those rushing yards. He's a playmaker. Like, he's a bona fide playmaker since he was a kid. You watch him at Clemson every year since he's been in Houston. Like, the guy's going to make plays, but I don't think he has the weapons around him to just to pay off for where you're going to have to take him. Okay, just because of the name value. So I'll leave Deshaun Watson on the board.
Yeah, I'm not, man. Unless one of the top 2 fall down to me in like maybe the 3rd, but definitely the 4th round, it's not going to happen. Yeah. I would then that would go early quarterback then. But without that happening, I'm letting the guys fall. But for those who do like to take the early quarterback, that's a fairly late early quarterback that could have some good upside. That's how I was kind of looking at him. I'm gonna change gears before we exit here. And you being the LSU man, talk to us about that Clyde Love. Is he the real deal?
He's the real deal.
Is he gonna kick Damian Williams right out the way? I couldn't kick high enough for the camera.
Man, Andy Reid wants him to take that, so I think that
it's a big bonus.
The door's open. I think he's talented enough. I mean, I got to watch Clyde. Like I said, I got to watch Joe Burrows every game, which means I got to watch Clyde every game. Clyde's a real deal. He really is. And the fact that I think Andy Reid doesn't want Damian Williams. Andy Reid has tried to replace this guy every chance he got since Damian Williams got there. I mean, he brought in Shady. He's brought in so many backs to try and take over. And Damian Williams is like that cockroach that just won't leave. Now, if Damian Williams gets a start, even if it's just the first few weeks because of, let's say, the rookie jet lag.
Sure.
Let's say that, he's not settled in yet. I like Damian Williams as a flex, as a streamer. Like, he really does have RB1 upside whenever he's in there just because he's in the Chiefs offense. We watched what he did in the playoff run, and he should have won the Super Bowl MVP. But Clyde's that guy. Clyde's going to be not only this season because he's on the Chiefs offense, but just throughout his career, he will finish as the best rookie running back from this draft class. And I know people who love Taylor are just crying right now, but that's that.
I like it. I was trying to find Damian Williams' draft. There it is. All right. So here's a question for you. Are you this guy? Redraft. You're up 14th. 14th? Is he really going? No. 28th pick. So we're wrapping around to the beginning of the third round. Are you willing to take Clyde there? That's the first question. And if you do take Clyde there on the 84th pick, so that's the end of the 7th round, are you going to handcuff him with Williams? Or are you just going to move on and say, I'll just roll with what I got?
You're saying Clyde's going as the 28th pick? Nah, huh? Is he right now?
That's what Fantasy Pros says right now, and that's all subject to change, and who knows. That's at PPR scoring as well, so they're giving him some love for catching the ball that he hasn't caught yet in the NFL. But
yeah,
feels high, doesn't it?
It does, and I mean that's probably as high as I would go taking him 28th pick in redraft. If this is dynasty, like smash, accept, but just the fact that it's redraft and we're dealing with this COVID thing and everything's kind of been cut short, and we have to rely on that. These guys have been training on themselves, and sometimes these rookies, they don't take the discipline as much as these veterans who've been in the league and know what it takes and whatnot. They can get a little complacent. And he had a shorter offseason than anyone, I mean, he's a national champion. He had the parades and all that. He had a lot of photo shoots and stuff. He's a first-round pick and national champion. He's had a long offseason in one way and a very short one in the terms of football. So I think 28 would be the highest. I'm higher on him than almost any expert out there. But that's where I cap it.
So you're willing to grab are you willing to spend the 3rd and the 7th round, both your 3rd and your 7th round picks, so your early 3rd, early 7th round pick probably, to lock up that backfield? Do you love the Chiefs backfield that much? Do you love the opportunity? Do you love to say, okay, whichever one's starting this week, assuming one has the official job, I'm willing to spend? That's a lot of draft capital.
No.
Where is it? This 3rd and 7th,
I probably don't go as far, and I've never been like that. Like there's people out there who love stacks.
Yeah.
And there's people that love handcuffs. Yeah. And I've never been a fan of either. I mean, I want the most depth. Like I want starters. Sure. So I would leave Damian Williams alone just because I know that Andy Reid wants Clyde there. If I take Clyde there at 28, I'm not handcuffing Damian Williams. I'll get someone who's going even later than him: Phillip Lindsay, Keyshawn Vaughn, Matt Breida, those guys in that round 7 range. And Damian Williams can stay there for the next guy to crash and burn.
I love it. All right, so we just snuck some running back talk in with our quarterback talk because that was fun. And the man loves a little LSU because you can hear that twang coming out a little there. That's not twang. Twang is more of a country thing. It's a bayou. I don't know
what it is, man. I've got a weird accent. I know that.
It's all good. I love it. All right, here we go. So you can find Mr. Elvin Ryan at Elvin Ryan _FF. FF stands for fantasy football, I hear. And I can be found on Twitter at Bob's3Toad, on YouTube at Bob's 3-Toed Warriors. You can listen to the new shows that drop on Monday and Thursday mornings at 3 in the morning Central Time. So they'll be in the queue when you're getting up from my early risers in the other countries. They'll be there as soon as I get them there, buddies. I'm working on it. Everywhere podcasts can be found, basically, you can find them. So you can also watch the Fantasy Football Hump Day Happy Hour on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. I'm going to rename that, but it's kind of fun to say, and I might not rename it. We'll see. That's it for this show. It's Bob's Three-Toed Warriors with Elvin Ryan, reminding you soon enough you'll be able to hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, and dominate your opponents. But until then,